What's up, guys? Perhaps just because of how much potential the human species has in terms of our intelligence and what we can accomplish, we like to get very arrogant and therefore we like to complicate everything about humans. But on the flip side, at the end of the day, like that classic song from Bloodhound Gang, The Bad Touch says, "You and me, baby, are nothing but mammals." And at the end of the day, we are just mammals, very simplistic organisms when we're looking at the bigger picture of things. For instance, in terms of dating or just success in certain areas of life, a lot of people like to complicate things and use thousands of factors. And partially, it's true. There's thousands of factors that work from personality to other things like how you talk, the way you display your body language, how you think of yourself, yada, yada, yada. But when you distill it down, you realize that a lot of huge factors, like why is a person like this? Why do people do that? Why is this successful person doing this? Some things are pretty simplistic, and obviously not everyone's like this. But here's an example just to show you what I'm talking about. A lot of guys who are very famous in the mainstream pop or just mainstream industry of music, they have songs that are very, very generic when you actually listen to the lyrics. If you actually read the lyrics and think about them, it all comes down to them trying to be the best and thus attract the females. And it's such a simplistic characteristic of mammals. It's always about competition, and the reason this exists is because in science, with evolution, natural selection, how it works is because of scarcity of resources and other factors. Survival and reproduction are at the end the main goal, and logically, does it make that much sense? No. Other than surviving, reproducing being quite fun, logically, we don't really know why all our genetics are always grained towards survival and reproduction and the survival of our species. It is quite peculiar. So, just to give you a more clear example, you know those songs on the mainstream rap station or mainstream pop station, all are, hey, I have a great big mansion, I have tons of cars, I have all this money. Ti, his song "Whatever You Like" says, hey, you can have whatever you like because I have all this money, planes, cars, everything. And then if you look at any of Lil Wayne's songs, not any, but a lot of them, they're about how he can be better than most guys at treating this girl right because he has all this money. And okay, some of you guys might be like, okay, that's all fine and dandy, but what about the females? What about nowadays? Those are some old songs you mentioned. The most recent song that recently came out was something called "Bang Bang." It's probably one of the most recent mainstream songs that have become really popular, and this sort of thing continues, and it will continue for a long time. It's just the nature of how our genetics are geared. And it's a song by Jessie J, Nicki Minaj, and Ariana Grande, three big superstars. And at least for a few of them, like Ariana Grande and Jessie J, a lot of their previous songs, not a lot, but some of them have been more, not just their songs, but their personalities. From what I know, which isn't that much, I feel like they were generally people that you would have thought would have stepped away from this sort of behavior, at least not to the extent to which it is when you read the lyrics of the song. But when you go ahead and read these lyrics, let me just read them to you. She got a body like an hourglass, but I can give it to you all the time. Just think about what that means. She got a booty like a Cadillac, but I can send you into overdrive. You need a good girl to blow your mind. Bang bang into the room. I know you want it. Bang bang all over you. I'll let you have it. Okay, but so you get the point, yeah. And yes, I have heard the song. It's actually quite catchy. And in this case, and in most cases with a lot of these songs, it all comes down to, uh, hey, I can do it better than my competition can, and therefore I'm better than my competition. Come to me, which is, somewhat interesting. And ultimately, it's one of those things that it's like, whoa, this that's how life works. You have to sort of work with it. I remember reading an article, and it was part of a book too. I think it was The Red Queen, and it talks about this. And in that book, it cited all these examples um, from pop culture in the last decade, from actors or successful politicians or business people, whoever, who utilize a lot of these factors in order to puff themselves up to show, hey, I'm better than competition, in order to ultimately attract more mates because their genetics tell them, I want the best mates for survival and reproduction of the best, most fruitful offspring. So, it is somewhat eerie how everyone sort of culminates to that and is so simplistic. And if when you look at it from a genetic and DNA perspective, it's like you do all this stuff to achieve material pleasure, um, and I mean, it's not like a horrible thing to do this. Like if you like candy, I mean, it tastes good. One candy won't kill you. Look at it from a logical perspective. It's like, okay, whoa, that's kind of crazy. Um, you do all this stuff because you are attracted to these mates of the opposite gender or the same gender, who knows? Um, um, and you want to acquire wealth or whatever other thing for these reasons. And ultimately, it's because your genetics tell you to do so. Well, why should you follow your genetics other than because it gives you some sort of psychological, chemical uh, stimulus in your brain simply telling you that this is good? It's like logically, but when you look at it deeper, you realize, well, that's not technically true. Although it is somewhat bizarre, you know, we do have quite a bit of free time in our lives generally, even if you don't think so. And that time is spent either courting females or males. Um, Again, as this song illustrates, it goes both ways. So if you're one of those guys who are like, I'm always chasing the females, trying to court them, perhaps it means that you're going about it wrong because there are females out there trying to court males, very eligible females out there. Anyhow, though, when you think about it deeper, it's like, okay, it may seem somewhat illogical, but at the same time, despite it being illogical, that pleasure and happy, or ha- some people equate that to happiness. That happiness, um, it's not really a horrible thing. Like, okay, in terms of fast food, junk food, um, certain problems with being too much of a philanderer, or side effects of being too much of a philanderer with women, those things aside, other things that equate to survival and reproduction, it's not completely a bad thing. I guess what comes to mind outside of junk food and dating people is just, let's just say, not necessarily mating with them to produce offspring, but uh, if you get enjoyment out of just being around them, um, isn't that something better to spend your time with than just walking around daily? Even if it logically doesn't make sense as to why these chemicals are going off and why all this is ultimately towards survival and reproduction, it's really not. It's not really a losing situation. It's just a better situation with no side effects. But generally, uh, I feel like that's how it is. So ultimately, it's very interesting, and I think one of the more peculiar things is what I talk about in another video, which is um, how if you look at it from a third person perspective or a non-human perspective, humans are these very ugly, bizarre creatures. Like even the most attractive females, like if you look at it from a third person animal perspective, they're these bizarre, disgusting creatures, hairless creatures that walk on two legs instead of four, and wear these bizarre clothes and do all these bizarre things, and then take dumps in these porcelain toilets. It's very bizarre. But then I revert back to my male human perspective, and I'm like, wow, those girls are gorgeous. So it's a very bizarre thing. Um, but that's for another video. So ultimately, it is very peculiar, and again, not every male or female is like this. Um, Although it is somewhat bizarre how people, tons of people, think that they're choosing their own path in life. They're doing their own thing. They're making decisions out of their own free will. As I'll illustrate in other videos, is that truly free will, or are you ultimately culminating, like in this song, they're ultimately culminating to a deeper motive, which is already ingrained and written in our DNA. Not necessarily their free will to do it, but what they think is free will, which is ultimately something that's deeper than that, which is, hey, your genetics tell you you want to find the best mates to survive and reproduce, and therefore go do that, whatever way you can do that. And then she's thinking, oh, those females are attractive, or those males are attractive. I'm gonna write this song. She gotta buy like an hourglass, but I can give it to you all the time, and on and on and on. So it's very interesting how that works. And again, stay tuned and remind me, and I'll do other videos on free will. And it gets even stranger because there are ecosystems out there where everything depends on an ecosystem where an ant perhaps has to go through a certain behavior to get eaten by a anteater, and all of that has to interact together. And in order for that to happen, they have to do very bizarre behavioral movements induced by the anteater's poo, which the ant eats. It's something like that. I'm paraphrasing it, but ultimately it gets you thinking: is any of this truly free will, or are they all being controlled in order for the whole system to work? Yeah. So if this video helped you, please share with someone, and I very much encourage them to watch until the end of this video because it gets crazy. That's all I really want to say, and as always, like, favorite, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. She got a body like an hourglass, but I can give it to you all the time. She got a booty like a Cadillac, but I can send you into overdrive. Bang, bang into the room. I know you want it. I wonder what bang, bang means. I wonder what they're banging. Bang, bang all over you. I'll let you have it. Wait a minute. Let me take you there. Ah. Wait a minute till ya. Ah. Let me just remind you how old Ariana Grande is. Actually, I don't know how old she is. Let me look that up real quick. She is 21 years of age. Okay, that's not too bad. She might let you hold her hand in school, but I'm going to show you how to graduate. Okay, it's not too bad. No, I don't need to hear you talk the talk. Just come and show me what your mama gave. Oh yeah. I wonder what she's talking about. The male genitalia. You got a very big mouth, but don't say a thing. See, anybody could be good to you. You need a bad girl to blow your mind. You know, I don't even know if they understand what they're singing when they sing this, or maybe they did, or maybe it was all just subconscious. You know, they're just writing away. Hey, this sounds good. I don't know. It ain't karaoke night, but get the mic 'cause I'm singing. Okay. Listen to this. Listen to this. Kin so good, it's dripping on wood. I wonder what the kitten is. I wonder what's dripping. Kitten is another colloquialism for the word pussy. Pussy is an Urban Dictionary word for the female genitalia. Dripping is what happens to. I think you get the point.